It was a mere 25 years ago when IO Interactive, published by Eidos Interactive, released Hitman Codename 47 on the PC. I absolutely loved that game. I couldn't believe the ragdoll physics, and I spent far too much time going through each mission. A hop, skip, and a quarter of a century later, and here I am, reviewing Hitman World of Assassination, the most modern and up-to-date Hitman game running on a handheld device. In fairness, if I told 15-year-old me he'd be doing that as a job, he would certainly have a grin on his face. And yet we are able to give away a Mario Edition Nintendo Switch 2 courtesy of one legendary anonymous subscriber. High five. Alright, Hitman World of Assassination. Is it worth picking up on Switch 2? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Now, let's find out. Jumping straight into the visuals then, IO Interactive are utilising their Glacier engine, which is a proprietary tech they created and have gradually honed over the years. The latest version of which is the Glacier Engine 2, which is used for Hitman 3. Some of the things the Glacier engine does very well that others don't is large crowd simulation. The series has always been renowned for having hundreds of NPCs roaming about, but also AI that could be reactive, follow various paths, and it's an engine that's seen a number of improvements through its many iterations. Now, having experienced this one first on PC at the max settings, I think I've got a pretty good grasp of what's changed. So straight away, to the trained eye, you can probably see it has an uncapped frame rate. So this one on Switch 2 is running between 30 and 60 FPS with a 48 to 50 FPS average for about 70 to 80% of the experience. I mentioned the engines at the start and the different iterations because World of Assassination includes some of the earlier titles. In fact, it includes Hitman 1, 2, 3, the bonus Assassination content, and some of the Hitman 1 and 2 levels are obviously easier to run. In fact, when we jump over to my absolute favourite stage, not just because it's set in sunny Blighty and you get to experience our lush weather, but there's just something very cool about it. Performance here is definitely better than the most modern stages where I used frame rate analysis. And by the way, this is the brand new Le Chiffre stage that IO Interactive announced just yesterday at Summer Games Fest. And it is awesome. The Hitman series is renowned for its large, open-world sandbox environments, and while it's not action-based most of the time, performance is still important. I don't have a particular issue with the game running at 30 or at 60 or at 40. I think leaving it uncapped is potentially a mistake, or what they could do, which many others have done, is just introduce some graphical options. Have a performance mode that's locked to 40 with slightly lower effects, or a quality mode at 30, and so on and so forth. Give people the options. Sadly, IO have done none of that. In fact, there are little to no graphical options on the Switch at all. Now, visual quality is important and it does look quite good here. Volumetric lighting is in place, real-time shadows. We don't have ray tracing, which is something that is on the PC version. Instead, we get what I believe to be screen space reflections, and they still look great. You'll still see reflective qualities in surfaces. The wood within this Le Chiffre mission is amazing. It has texture and grain to it. You can see the reflections. It just looks as it should. In fact, you could say that for environments throughout the whole experience. On one particular stage, I found myself just taking the sights in, looking at the textures, and texture quality is also very impressive. So on the visual front then, it's on par with other systems, which is what you would hope for, but also not guaranteed at all. But I do think there's more overhead here. There's way more they can do. It feels more like they've kind of dropped it in and gone, oh, it runs okay. Yeah, let's just uncap the frame rate. That'll do. Happy days, rather than really taking the time to tweak and optimize, as we saw recently with Cyberpunk. Now, that is also presented in the different control options that we have on Switch. Now, obviously we can play it in docked or in handheld with the detached joycons, but how about things like gyro or mouse mode, or touch screen for that matter? None of which have been supported here. Having mouse mode and gyro would be perfect. Aiming down the sights of a weapon, using a sniper scope, all of those would benefit from that functionality, and performance cannot be the excuse. when it runs between 30 and 60, they'll be more than capable, so that's disappointing to say the least. Load times are actually very reasonable. Some stages loaded in as little as 15-20 seconds. Generally it wasn't much more than that, and I can always tell when it's not an issue, when my brain doesn't even remember it when I come to do this, and it's only when I check my notes and go, oh yeah, it was fine. The sound on the Nintendo Switch 2 hasn't been talked about enough. In handheld it does an excellent job of simulating 3D sound. As someone who's spent tens of thousands of hours on the first and second Switch models, I can say it's a big step up, and games that support it like this one, you'll be able to pinpoint directional sound very well even when you're not using headphones.
Sorry, I can't let you through.
Basement 2. So we're all really busy here. Just do what you do.
Awesome for it. Well, maybe if someone had been cheap. Another day in the office. Move out.
In many ways, the gameplay of the Hitman series hasn't changed in 25 years. You're given a contract brief, a description of a target that you'll have to take out, and each stage isn't a level in the traditional sense. The aim is not to simply rush from A to B, killing the target. It's to learn the environment, the hazards that are available, to take on the disguises of different individuals that you'll find in that world, and scope out the many possibilities before essentially experimenting with those. In the newer games, you can overhear conversations which will give you key intel or find items within the world to do the same. For most, it will be enough to simply go for the elusive silent assassin ranks, but you'll be rewarded if you can really pull off the perfect assassination, which tends to be one involving an accident.
Right. Here it goes. Pull.
Something that could never be traced back to a killer, and it's spending your time to find all of those that really is the rewarding part of the Hitman series. I should imagine there are many people who have played the games who have never done that, and as such, in my opinion, you've not really experienced them. IO emphasise this in the way they design those stages to be rewarding time and time again. They attach challenges to each one. These challenges might be to point a pokey thing in someone while they're having a shower, or throw a shuriken at someone's head, and after each level it will tell you exactly which ones you unlocked and which you didn't. Alongside the campaign missions, you'll also find several more online focused affairs. One of those I've already spoken about in the new content, and it's a series of contracts that are gradually released onto the platform, and you have a set amount of time to finish them. They also operate within arcade mode. Now in the main game you can save, reload checkpoints, all that good stuff, but in arcade mode you can't do a lot of that good stuff, and it's very much you're on the spot, you're against every other person that's tried the mission, and it adds a lovely amount of pressure. Throw in the fact that it won't let you instantly repeat it. I think that's such a great idea. In a world of quick saves and memory speeds that allow for loading that's quicker than the save, forcing some consequence into a game that's based around your life and death actions, it's a smart move. Now for those who haven't played the games before, there is something delightfully enjoyable about walking around in an environment in an outfit that you've just found laying around in a bathroom, taking out your little spy cam and hacking into a vent, before casually nodding to some random bloke who absolutely is convinced you work with him. The difficulty spikes up when you come across enforcers who can be seen with a small circle above their heads, and you'll be using your sixth sense abilities to scan the environment and look for key items as well as your target itself. It's a really clever game actually in its design, and allows for multiple avenues to approach every single level. If you're lucky enough to not have played Hitman 1, 2 or 3, you really are benefiting from refinement and community feedback, and you're getting a bunch of excellent levels and loads of content here. The controls really disappoint me. I just think it's a lazy, no effort control scheme that's taken straight from the other platforms. There's nothing Switch 2 specific here at all. Price wise, it's £52.95 for the Signature Edition, which includes a couple of cosmetics, a Mario outfit, things I do not care about at all. For reference, the Steam base price is £58.50, so it's actually cheaper than Steam. However, Steam currently has a 60% sale on, so yeah. In fairness, you're getting a lot of content. It just doesn't feel like they made a huge effort for the Nintendo Switch. Maybe they did, maybe handheld was more difficult to get running than it looks, and for sure, it's a nice way of playing it. Hitman World of Assassination is a really enjoyable game. It features some of the greatest designed levels of any series that uses sandbox. I just wish IO Interactive would have put in the effort to actually use the Nintendo Switch 2's best control features, those being gyro or mouse mode, or both. It gets a SwitchUp score of 87%. Alright, Nintendo Switch review, or Switch 2 review number 2 has been finished. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the content, to our Patreons, our members, I hope you're enjoying it, and we are keeping our eyes on the comments for the winner of the Switch 2. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!